Hey everybody, it's Jan again, and today I want to talk about self-improvement and how that led me to finding a religion or spiritual thing in my life. So as a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of people, generally speaking, who are seeking more fulfillment in their life, kind of more transcendent life than what is available. Something that you can't really get through collecting more things or being materialistic or even pursuing your passion or profession. Or there's a cycle. Usually I see that right after school you are super hungry and you want to prove yourself to the world, and then I'm just speaking about myself, go into the business and spend a couple of years there, and then you kind of burn out, but you don't know why, and you're trying to look for something else that could actually replace that hunger that you had. But it's not really about something that you want to pursue. It's not like you can actually find it somewhere. It's more subtle than that. And basically it starts off with something simple. You still have some bad habits. Maybe you're drinking, maybe you're doing maybe you're fat, you have some sort of thing about yourself that you don't like, and you should improve that. And so that's when you start kind of watching motivation videos. Let's be honest, most people who watch those things are useless. But even if you watch them and kind of makes you feel better, you try to learn something or find something more practical that you can implement in your life. It could help you. So let's say you have a problem with your weight. So what can you do? That was my problem. You could implement fasting and you could implement exercise. Just these two things will take you a couple of years to master. Fasting took me like 7 months. Now this is my 8th month of fasting, I think. And jogging, working out, calisthenics, all those things took me jogging years, almost 10 years, and the other stuff me a lot of months. But eventually, this is like a live example I'm giving you. I lost 20 kilograms. So I feel much better. I have a much better energy level. I prioritize my health in my weekly schedule at work, or if I'm with a client. And yeah, I just have a much better overall quality of life than I used to have. But it's not still the main issue. It's just a slight improvement of your life, and maybe you're more healthier, you're gonna live longer. And fasting because you want to lose weight, but also it makes there are a number of benefits in terms of diabetes and stuff like that. But let's say you got that covered, you're healthy now. What's next? Well, you still have bad habits. You still have a drinking problem, as everybody in the West. I'm pretty sure if you have a team building with your colleagues, you drink. You have pub nights, you drink. You have maybe a wife or a girlfriend at home. You buy a bottle of wine every other day. And it simply becomes a habit that you're not really an alcoholic, but you tend to drink. Maybe 3-4 times a week. You don't see it as a problem, but it can grow out of proportions, and you always have these headaches in the morning, and it just makes you sloppy. And this is a problem. It makes you maybe want to smoke after you drink, and it just creates a cycle, and it's so easy to fall into that. I'm just speaking from my experience as well. I've been drinking for 15 years, so I know. But you try to cut that out. So you're trying to put some daily practice into your life, and get away from alcohol and drugs of all sorts. Maybe you're smoking too much weed. Man, don't smoke that weed. Yes, and weed, it did make life interesting in some periods of my life, but eventually you need to cut that out as well. And now you're really on your purpose, man. You're doing it, but you still don't know your purpose. You still don't know, well, what am I doing? What is this? Am I just kind of improving for the sake of improvement? Or just being healthy to live longer? Why? What is this? What does this mean really deeply? Eventually, you kind of hit the breaking point where you can't just do physical body stuff. You start looking into meditation. Maybe you have Headspace installed on your phone and you start meditating every day or something like that. You go to the alpha and you start visualizing and you start being more spiritual. You start looking more into your brain and just kind of okay, why am I thinking this? What is this? Why is this making me feel like this? You kind of go through your psychology. So you kind of look into yourself more. And this is the most important thing. People who are doing this will eventually come across something, but you start looking into yourself more, watching other types of content, maybe more spiritual, but still on the surface packaged as meditation or as just mindfulness, or stuff like that. And then you get into these crazy things where you start doing cold showers, which now is so popular. Like 10 years ago, nobody was doing that. Now there are people naked in the forest, going through the forest and hiking because of Wim Hof and his Wim Hof method. And overall, cold shower and cold bathing in cold water became a sort of a culture now, because it creates healthy benefits for you, but also gives you a lot of mental toughness. And now you're on a level, and also the breathing method of Wim Hof. And now you're on kind of like the surface level of spirituality, and you still say, "Oh, I'm kind of a spiritual person." What does that mean? Well, I believe there's something, but I believe in myself and whatever. Okay, cool. And so now you're trying to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And eventually you realize a big problem. There is no method or guideline on how to live life. There's actually a cool YouTube channel called School of Life, which tries to kind of go through different mental health problems or, different challenges in life, how to raise a child, how to do that, and how to tell somebody you love them or hate them. And it's just really cool, and nobody's doing that. But essentially, they don't have objective truth. They just kind of are subjectively trying to come across. It's a philosopher guy, but he's just trying to get to the truth, but he doesn't have an anchorage point. He's coming off from his own experiences and his own, theory. But people try to then go into philosophy, School of Life, and kind of just trying to figure out how do I actually live life? What is this? How do I live life so that it makes sense? But the big thing is I would compare it to, you're like a blind man who's trying to find something, but he's still blind. So sometimes he grabs something that helps. Let's say fasting, losing weight. I'm grabbing, I don't know, not staying out of bad habits. I'm grabbing that. But I'm also adding baggage. I'm also adding stuff which are not good for me, but you don't know, because eventually you don't know. You are not all-knowing. You don't know what is good for you, and you don't know what is bad for you. Maybe from the moment you are born and from the moment you have been a child, everybody told you, stay off drugs, don't drink, don't do alcohol, say hi to people, just eat healthy. People know they should do this, but they don't, because our psychology. So we're very complicated. And even though people tell you that, you still don't believe them, because there is no objective truth or morality to tell you what you should be doing. Go get them, boy. Go and prove yourself. Hey, make yourself happy. And this is the kind of conditioning we're living in today. So eventually you come across a point where, okay, I'm doing things for my own sake, the things that I want to do, the things that I desire, but it's not making me healthy, or it's not making me happy. You can go on Tinder and get a date with 20 girls, and what then? You can do all sorts of stuff to make your desires go and flourish, but it doesn't really go deeper into your psychology. It takes your animalistic behavior and multiplies it, so you're closer to an animal in those points than a human intellectual or something like that. And eventually you have to do this. Eventually the blind man has to grab something. What does he grab? Well, I'm not even talking about DMT and LSD and all those things. Those things kind of give you, and they open something in your mind, but they don't give you context. So you say, oh man, this was crazy. Dude, I saw these elves and they were talking to me and they were doing this and that. Or I saw this crazy stuff about my previous life. Oh man. And it's just cool, but what does it mean? You don't have a context. You were given a slight glimpse into your own psychology or something unnatural, but you don't know. You still don't know. You're trying to get somewhere where you shouldn't be. You're trying to get somewhere as a shortcut. You're taking a shortcut to somewhere you would eventually arrive just being clean. You will arrive to that point. But you're taking a shortcut in the form of drug, and you're trying to kind of get there. But you don't know. You're not enlightened by any means if you take DMT. You haven't been enlightened. You're still your own miserable you. You're still doing the same things. And maybe, yes, it changed your life, but you're still not enlightened just because you took a drug. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about grabbing some sort of religious textbook. It's eventually going to happen if you really are going in depth and you really want to discover the truth, because you can't go seeking for the truth without looking into religion. It's impossible, because people have been trying to do that for eternity. Eventually, once your material needs are figured out, you look within yourself, you look at the universe, and you're like, okay, who created me? Why am I here? What is my purpose? It's inevitable you will ask those questions. And philosophy doesn't have an answer. Nation state doesn't have an answer. Your mother and family, they don't have an answer. People are kind of dragged into living on the surface. So you don't really have friends who can really talk to you about this. So you have to look into religion. It's inevitable. So you will look into Christianity, you will look into Bible, you will look into Hinduism, you will look into Buddhism, you will look into Sikhism, you will look into paganism, you look into all those things, you look into Islam, you will look into all those things. And you will have to determine and decide based on the fundamental of that religion if you have found something of value that spoke to you. So I did that, and eventually it led me to one of those choices. That's the point. If you arrive at that point and you say, this resonates with me, I really can't find any mistake here. I can't find a mistake. And it does make sense. So if you find something that does make sense, can't find any mistake, and the overall principles and the overall idea, I'm not talking about the practices, but the idea resonates with you, and you know that this is the truth. You have just discovered it. That's when you just have to dive in. And that's the scariest moment, because you're like, man, I don't want to become a Buddhist, or I don't want to become a monk. I don't want to become a Christian. I don't want to become a Muslim. It's irrelevant. Now that you know the truth, what are you going to do? You're still going to live in this world just like everybody else, or you're going to dive deeper and kind of live still here, but be more focused on that spiritual part of yourself, because it's inevitable, because this will help you when you die. This will help you throughout your life to have an anchorage, so that anytime you don't know what to do, you will have a GPS in life. Otherwise, you will be like a blind man lost, trying to do cold showers and stuff. So once you find that, that's a breaking point. And then you have a choice. You have to make yourself believe that this is true. There's nobody else who will force you into this. You have to do it by yourself. Or if there's a lot of, problems, then don't. If you come across problems within the scripts, the religious texts, then don't do it. If it's clearly been convoluted by somebody. But if you find something that is true, you like it, you see it, you know it's going to be a long journey, couple of years to finally practice this, but you know that this is the way. And if you go through this path and you stay on it, it will actually lead you somewhere, and you won't be blind. You will have an anchorage. So that's my message to you. Eventually, if you're in this searching part before you find these things, you will eventually find it here. You will eventually have to cross the chasm, as they say. So hopefully when you do, I wish you all the best, because it is one of the scariest things in life, to just let your ego die, everything you believed before that die, and just dive into the thing that you found. This is the most important thing you will ever discover, and it's the purpose of life. Otherwise, you don't have it. You will eventually have to let go of all your desires, all your ego, and find this objective truth that you have just discovered and make it part of your life. Because if you don't and you believe this, well, there's a problem there. Cognitive dissonance. You can't believe in something and not practice it. So if you discover something that you believe, but you don't practice it, it will make you depressed. You can either go back to your life, but the truth is there, which will make you depressed, or you can just say, oh shit, I will do this. But what about my family? What about my friends? What will they say? What about this? And it's just, man, what about them? This is your thing, your life. They don't live with you. Do it. And and just go there, and you will discover a tremendous world of another matrix. that will just have a different, you will have a different lens on your eyes when you speak with people. And yeah, that's when the enlightenment starts to happen. There's no other way around it. You won't get it through cold showers, dude. There is a God. Get closer to him before you die. It's a simple thing. It's so simple. Do it, and it will make everything easy. But people still can't accept the truth. People still are like, well, how do you know that there is a God? Well, that's my next video. My next video is about that topic, or a slight touch about that topic. So, see you later, guys. Thank you so much. And hit subscribe. Tell me, what do you think if you are, what are you practicing in terms of these self-improvement hacks? And then if you are religious, let me know about that as well. Thank you so much. I will be in touch. And until next time, this is Jan. See you later.